The Gospel of the Lord. Just continuing our little theme of the week on the issue of the vaccines that we've faced obviously in recent years. Last couple of days, Saturday, Monday, and today we continue. Obviously we know that, and it's very common in our thinking today, that we want to look after the health of our body. Very strong movements in the Western world and in many other parts also, to want to eat well, exercise well, consider the health of our body in a proper way. Of course, we know it can go to excess or be, in fact, motivated by also bad philosophy. Today, many people deny the existence of the soul, think that they're only just a clever monkey, product of evolution, and thereby, yes, they look after their body because they think that that is the only thing that they have. And there, it's motivated sometimes by errors. But nonetheless, we all know well the need to safeguard our health and the good of our body. And then as Christians, we know God has given us this body, so there it reinforces a natural truth. And we also know that Christ has assumed a body, so he gives our body an even greater dignity. Our body, in fact, by what Christ has done in the incarnation, shares in the imaging of God at a secondary level. Image and likeness of God in our spiritual soul, and then now our body shares in the image of God because of what Christ has done by assuming a human body. And then of course through baptism we know our body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. And these are all deep reasons by which we must respect the dignity of our body and the bodies of others, of course, and look after them in right order. And of course we know that is what is behind all the effort in today's world through our medical technology to assist the body, to keep it healthy. We know that decent health is one of the foundational criteria for at least a satisfying life. When one is in illness all the time or in pain all the time, it affects the way that they live their life, of course. And there, yes, we have developed a lot of technology, incredible medical expertise today, which compared to history is extraordinary. And of course, in anything that is developed in our technology for the good of our human life, we can use it well, and at times we can overuse things. Just like when we have electricity always available to us, we always have gasoline for our cars. There's a danger that we become so reliant on these things that we use them in a disproportionate way to the detriment of other things in our lives. We know this. It's part of the kind of weakness of human nature that when we have a good thing, we tend to abuse it. It doesn't mean that the good thing is wrong in itself. It just means that we have a temptation to overuse things. We know this well for our food, of course. And there, yes, there is a danger from time to time to overuse medicines to the detriment of the overall health of the community. But just taking a step back from that before we look at that issue, certainly when we're looking at medicines for our good from a proper Catholic and philosophical perspective, it has been worked out very clearly in human history, and especially after the Second World War, because of what happened to the Jews and the Gypsies, including the handicapped and even Catholics, the abuses that the Nazis perpetrated in the different kinds of camps, the concentration camps and the extermination camps. It was worked out very clearly after the war in the Nuremberg codes that medicine should always be voluntary. And this has now been respected as a human right. something that is so foundational to medical ethics as to be one of the first principles that they operate out of, including do the good and not overly do the harm at the service of that good, including that we should never be forced to take a medicine. And there's in fact an offense against our human dignity to be forced to take something into our body. Now, of course, we know that we can be mandated in law to do certain external things in our society for the sake of the common good, etc. We know that well. We have to have a driver's license to drive, etc. We have to qualify certain things for our human life in order to participate in certain things in society. But as I spoke about last year, we certainly make a clear distinction that when it comes to putting things inside our body, we have an extraordinary dignity and freedom in that regard given to us by God, recognized by the Catholic Church, and also recognized by most medical bodies in the world, especially since the Second World War. So thereby we must always be respected in our freedom when it comes to consenting to medicines. Informed consent, it's so common in all the medical world. For us to consent properly to something that we don't know much about, like a medicine that is going into our body, thereby we must be informed before we consent to it. And this is used across the board in the medical world. It's taught in every discipline of medicine and health care. So there, yes, it applies to us Catholics when it comes to medicines, vaccines, antibiotics. We have a right to say no, in fact. Now, it doesn't mean that every no is always an intelligent no. You might get someone, like I was saying through yesterday and on Saturday, that says no to medicines for the wrong reasons, natural fideism or some other misunderstanding. And a parent might say no to medicine for their children for wrong reasons. But it still remains a foundational truth that a person must be free in the way that they use medicine, and they cannot be coerced, they cannot be bullied, they cannot be pressured, they cannot be harassed when it comes to the taking of medicines, and even more so when a medicine is untested and untried and unproven. Even more so does a person have in their human dignity, in their human rights, before God and before the community, the right to say no if they have doubts and if they have not been informed so that their consent can be truly free. And there, my brothers and sisters, this is so foundational. It was a scandal last year and a blasphemy in a certain way against what God has done for us, and a sin against human dignity, the way that those principles were thrown out the window and people were pressured to take the vaccines for the sake of other goods, and we'll look at those in the coming days. But what must be always affirmed in Catholic life is that we have a foundational freedom to say no if we do not want a medicine. And be careful, of course, not every no may be well discerned. We must be saying no for the right reasons, but we still have the right to say no. And there, yes, there can be abuse from the medical world, and that definitely happened last year. There was abuse in the political world, there was abuse in the media world, there was also abuse, unfortunately, in the church, to pressure people to make them make this decision for a vaccine without any real knowledge and without giving them the full knowledge for their consent. And there it is so fundamentally clear. When you read the documents of the church, you read the Catholic Catechism, you read any of the proper the medical ethics that are laid out in all the journals, there a human person has the right to say no and should not have things foundational, fundamental things for their human life deprived from them if they say no. And there, yes, there can be abuse. in the medical world, and we have seen that from time to time. It is certainly present still today, not just with the way that things happened last year and this year, but the way that the medical world lies to people about abortion, the way the medical world tends to lie to women about the contraceptive pill and not give them the full truth so that they can have an informed consent. So this has happened before. And indeed, there has been a lack of information when it came to things last year. So this is something foundational we have to be very, very aware of. And just to finally finish with just one point, yes, there can be an overuse of medicines, as good as they are, and sometimes we're seeing that now with the overuse of antibiotics. Now, antibiotics are very good things. They have saved the world from so many diseases and widespread problems. And a good thing, as I mentioned, can be overused. So that might mean that in the future we adjust our prudence, and maybe we should. Maybe we should get used to facing minor diseases with less use and reliance on medicines. That is certainly a prudence that could be adjusted in our medical ethics today. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.